Islam, about perfect praise to Allah, honest to the Prophet, noble true Ali, honest to my forefathers and my foremothers, honest to the Asiatic nations, and honest to the Muslims all over the world. Salvation, Allah, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws, Act 1, the Grand Sheikh and the chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and partial of the government and must live life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and partial of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Nobuju Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Nobuju Ali, through the guidance of his father God Allah, Nobuju Ali, founder, Moorish American prayer, Allah, the father of the universe, the father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day. Through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, home office of Noble Drew Ali, home office, Chicago, Illinois, USA. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Peace.
All right, gratitude more. Brother Kobe, would you please read the writs of the prophet?
Islam. I rise to give honors to our great God Allah. Rise to give honors to our prophet Noble Drew Ali. Rise to give honors to our forerunner Marcus Messiah Garvey. Rise to give honors to all Moors on the attendance of the call. I give honors to all Moors on the planet to be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and a desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nation of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifted funds, the ones that pay their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That's why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, and on the street. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans. They do their part in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace, Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam, this instruction is from your prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefather divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now. But the weak can comprehend it not. Then the times are drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali. And that is why many hearts have turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they will be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islamism.
All right, Islamism. Gratitude, brother. Gratitude. Um, all right, appreciate you all. Thank you all for joining us on the call today. We'll be going over keys 21 through 30 in the questionnaire. And before we do that, I just want to talk about a few things. All right, one thing, just wanted to make sure that everybody did the e-registration. For those that joined after December, you're already good. You already did it. But for all the existing members, need to make sure that everybody does their e-registration. I'll put the link in on the Facebook chat in the Facebook group, and also send it in the text. But we just need everybody to go in there and e-register. This link is only for existing members, as you can see here. Only for people who already have their nationality card. It's free. Just go in there, you're gonna click that. It's gonna open up a Google form. You fill it out, and after you're done, basically a certificate saying that you've been accepted as a member is gonna be sent to the temple, and we will give that to everybody when we meet next later this month. So I believe the sisters will be finalizing the exact date and location for where we have our next physical meeting. But hopefully everybody can get that in so that we can have those for everyone the next time we meet. And I'll just show you this is what it looks like. So now this is what everybody gets when after they join, after they've been approved. Basically, it has the seal on here at the bottom. Um, the Ali number is just a way of internal registration number that's assigned to everybody, which is what every society should have, right? Like our own, you could almost say social security number. Not saying that's what it is, but for our filing purposes. And then everything should be signed by the Supreme Grand Secretary and then have a seal on here, right? So everybody gets one of these. And just wanted to make sure that everybody goes ahead and does the e-registration if you haven't done so already. Okay. And hang on a second. All right. Also want to talk about nationality. For those of you who've heard this before, repetition makes you stronger in this understanding. So it's good, even if you've heard this several times, even if you notice. If you notice, good, maybe you can chime in. But just want to go over this so that we all have a firm understanding of what this is. Nationality, the definition is a people having a common origin, tradition, and language, and capable of forming or actually constituting a nation state. Right? That's what nationality is. People with a common origin, tradition, language, and capable of actually forming a nation state. Okay. And of course, for the most part, our people don't see it themselves as a nation. We're coming together because we have this understanding and we recognize the importance of it. Just want to go over some key points. Why do we need a nationality? Number one, nationality ties us to our forefathers. Okay. We have to have that connection. I read some literature a long time ago from a brother Pleasant Bay that compared the so-called Negro to sardines. And the reason he did that was because the sardines, the fish that it's in a can or that people cook and serve up, it's actually several different kinds of fish, right? There's no type of fish called sardine. These are fish that are supposed to have been caught off the coast of Sardinia, but it's several different types of fish, and they cut off the head and the tail of the fish and call it sardines and create something new for commercial purposes. And that's exactly what they did to us. Cut off our connection, cut off the head and the tail. You don't know where you came from. You're given a brand new name. They keep renaming us, and it's for commercial purposes, right? You're now owned by somebody. Somebody owned you. They named you, they owned you. Islam, I see brother Kobe has his hand up.
Islam, Sister Kobe had a question about the citizenship.
Islam.
Yeah.
I've been studying a little bit more about the 14th Amendment. If you guys have Netflix, Brother Will Smith has a documentary on Netflix about the 14th Amendment called Amend. It is very informational. It's a lot of stuff on there that I myself was not aware of. They actually broke the 14th Amendment down. They actually pieced it out and actually broke the 14th Amendment down about what it really means, what it entails, who it protects and who it does not protect, and what the government did and didn't do, and how they tried to loophole it to not protect African American people, women, gays, and all sorts of people, and how people had to fight for their rights to make the 14th Amendment fit them. It was really informational. I stayed up all night last night trying to watch most of it, and I finished it this morning. It was really, really informational. Actually, Jalen, the youth actually was intrigued by it. It was so informational. But my question is what's the difference between citizenship and nationality? According to the 14th Amendment, what they were trying to say is that Black people were not citizens, according to the Constitution. And then they wrote the 14th Amendment to include Black people, because according to the 14th Amendment, Black people are citizens because they were born on this soil. So anybody that was born on this land is a citizen of this land and of this, of this soil, because you are born here.
And they even say the signs Moorish people too. Even signs saying Moorish people too.
That was something different. Brother Cole Bay is saying something different. That was the covenant laws of the laws of when they were trying to gentrify and do zoning laws. Because we're trying to buy a house. So that's another issue. But I was looking at the 14th Amendment, and they were saying, under the 14th Amendment laws, that they had given everybody, and that included anybody that, that was born here. You are considered a citizen of this land. You are afforded the rights that, the unalienable rights that everybody else has here because you were born here. Though the government does not do what they are supposed to do as they should, they don't enforce this as they should. It is true. And a lot of times we have to flex our muscles to make them do what they are supposed to do under the 14th Amendment. You are considered a citizen of this land, as much as people like to say, go back to Africa. Well, that's, I don't have to, because according to the 14th Amendment, I'm just as welcome here as you. Islam.
Islam, we yield the floor.
Islam. I didn't even realize I was on mute. Peace and love, sis. Appreciate you. Thank you for bringing that up. And we can actually refer to the prophet's words in the divine warning. He actually spoke on the 14th Amendment and how it applied to us. I'm going to just read a portion of it. Divine warning is long. Through your free national name. Well, first, I do want to answer the question you had first about nationality. What's the difference between nationality and citizenship? Okay, so nationality does not necessarily mean that you have possession of your land, right? In that definition that I was reading, it said a people having a common origin, tradition, and language, and capable of forming or constituting a nation state. Capable of, they might not be in that position right now. And an example of that besides us would be motion detected in the backyard. Would be the Palestinians. Okay, and the reason I'm saying that is because the Palestinians have a nationality. They're Palestinian, but where do most of them live? They live in Israel, right? We're Moorish Americans. Where do we live? We live in what? North America, the United States of America, right? So they live in Israel. The different people from different parts of Europe came into there. They took that land, saying that this is our homeland. We're the Jews. So the Palestinians are kind of in a similar situation to us, where they're in a land and they don't necessarily have possession of it. And they organized the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, to be their like governing body to represent them on a national scale and on a local scale, to speak up for them and the things that they're going through, the things that they need, right? So they're capable of governing themselves. Now you understand, but they may have Jewish citizenship, okay? But that doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to be like that forever. They may get land. They may form their own nation. There is no nation of Palestine. You'll see it in the Bible, but in modern times, there is none. But they may have that 20 years from now or 30 years from now, right? So your nationality may not necessarily be the same as your citizenship. Your citizenship will comprise your national descent, right? Say you're Palestinian and you live here in America and you're American, you have American citizenship. Your line of descent, right, is Palestinian. So you can say you're Palestinian American or just say you're American, right? But in reality, since you know who you are, you're Palestinian or you're a Palestinian American, right? So having your nationality, you know, for us, since we were cut off from that, is reconnecting to our line of descent. Since we don't have some far off land that we can go back to or that we can go to if things get rough here or anything of that nature, we have to form our government. And so that's why it was important that the prophet did this, brought our own religion to us, our own way of governing ourselves, our own structure, so that we are capable of doing these things, just like everyone else. So we were like sardines, literally, where we were just cut off. We didn't even know the importance of having these things. Maybe some of us did, but as a whole, we didn't. And we were wondering why we're getting taken advantage of. And so that ties into the Fourth Amendment too, because the way that they're teaching it, they're leaving a lot out. So yeah, they used it to bring us into the Union and to give us citizenship. But if we look at what the prophet brought to us, he said, through your free national name, Moorish American, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live, right? As Negroes, which is what they were calling us at the time. And then later on in the 40s and 50s, it was colored. Colored people aren't recognized anywhere. Negroes aren't recognized anywhere. That's how come even in this modern day, people were doing Black Lives Matter protests in Brazil, in France, all over the world. They were taking part, and it still didn't get us the stuff we needed. Joe Biden told all those black leaders, I ain't doing nothing. He said he's not doing police reform. Right. So even though all these people all over the world know about the hypocrisy, it does nothing because black people don't really exist. They're a creation. We're up under them. Okay. So the prophet gave us the free national name, Moorish American, and established what it is in the society and everything. So through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners who were at that time without power with the constitutional body of power. So they're leaving that part of it out, that the South had seceded from the Union. They said, forget y'all, we're the rebels, we're doing our own thing, we're forming our own nation. We don't need y'all. Y'all need us because we produce the cotton and whatever else, tobacco and all that, and you guys do all the industrial stuff, but we don't need y'all. We'll trade with other countries without going through y'all. We don't need y'all. And they wound up losing that war. So they're coming back in. They're trying to come back into the Union. And so they were made citizens now through the 14th and 15th Amendment. Right? They ceded from the Union. And so that was also for bringing a lot of people of European descent back into the fold. And they don't tell us that. And at that time, going back to the divine warning, at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men free and equal, right? So the prophet saying, if the Constitution declared all men free and equal, why do we have to make this concession to bring people in, right? So he's saying it's because they were outside of the Constitution now. They went off on their own. We're going to form our own, and now they're coming back into it. So they had to create a provision to bring all of these people, Confederates, whatever you want to call them, all of these people who went out and did their own thing, bringing them back in. And to do it all at once, like just to write the act and to make all these states come back in. And I have to go one by one and do it to each person. So at that time, the 1865, the free national constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men free and equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. And so the prophet is saying that for us, the issue wasn't that we ceded from the Union like the South did. He's saying that we were outside of we the people. Okay, so on one hand, we could say that the framers of the Constitution, George Washington and them, they weren't looking out for us when they writing all men declared equal. They're not talking about us anyway, right? But we also have to think, in this time, late 1700s, they created the Negro Acts, the Negro laws. They defined it as their property. So they didn't even have, I mean, they automatically, you're not in there anyway as their property. But they can't do that to Moors. They can't do that to Egyptians. They can't do that to Polynesians. They can't do that to, what's another people? Even people that may not even be doing very well right now economically. They can't do that to them because they are people who are civilized, who have their own, they come from something. They maybe even predate the European, right? These are real people that exist. But they could do that to sardines. They could do that to people that had no head, no tail, no beginning. You know, the prophet saying that by being Moorish American, we're in we the people. That whole constitution is based off of what our people had. And there's no need for the 14th and 15th Amendment to come in and now, okay, we can get civil rights and we can get X, Y, and Z. We don't need those. The Constitution applies to us now. And we can use that and we can hold them to that as well. All right. Maybe not just one of us or two of us by ourselves, but as a collective, moving as a nation, we can. Even if all of us, because there's what, who knows? Because they're probably not going to tell the real amount of our people it is here. There's probably like 60 million of us here. And we don't even need everybody to get on board. Even if it's 600,000 of us, right? That's a lot. And we can get things done. So with us moving as a unit, as a collective, and as people, real humans that are part of the human family that know who we are. Nobody can come and tell us, well, no, you came from here, you came from there, you can't do this and that. No, we have a prophet from Allah. We have divine instructions from Allah. We know who we are. Nobody can tell us anything about that. So we're moving now, self-determined. This is who we are. We need X, Y, and Z. And we're playing a different ball game now than moving as something that they created. And okay, you came from this part of West Africa. We don't know where, but that's where all of y'all come from. And we gave y'all a religion. Y'all were savages. We gave you Christianity. we taught you how to read and speak and math and all this stuff. Y'all didn't know how to do anything. That's what Negroes are. And that's how come they can make provisions and say, okay, Negroes, we'll give you the right to vote. We'll give you these things. But that when you look at that, right? If this was really true, that we all needed to the 14th and 15th Amendment to come in so that we could do things, how come there were people, Moors, that they would call Negroes, who were already voting, who were already holding office before this happened? It doesn't explain that. So there's some gaps in how they teach history, especially referring to us, especially when it refers to us. And they love to call us descendants of slaves. And to this day, I've never heard a person of European descent refer to themselves as a descendant of slaves. And that doesn't make any sense, because a lot of them were getting enslaved, even up into the 1800s, even when they passed that 14th and 15th Amendment, 1865. So they're leaving a lot out, a lot out. Islam. Was somebody trying to speak?
No, I was just seconding your comment.
Islam. So I would say we would have to really look at what the prophet was speaking on there, because he was giving us information and an understanding that our people didn't have at that time. And even still in 2021, a lot of us still don't understand, because this is hidden. This is hidden. All right. And I had showed some news clippings sometime, maybe it was a year ago or last year. And it was from the 1800s, and it was a town in New York. It was called Yorktown. And in that article, they were referring to the people as Negroes and Moors interchangeably. And the thing was, they had an Asiatic mayor, maybe an Asiatic sheriff, and our people in these different positions. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because that shouldn't have been occurring if we needed the 14th and 15th Amendment to come into the union, to come to get citizenship status, to be able to vote, to be able to do some of the things that we do now, or that we take for granted now. Right? So a lot of things are being left out of history, and that they're only going to tell the tale that keeps pushing the same agenda, that we started at slavery. Basically, we started at slavery, and that's, at the end of the day, that's what it is. They start us off as slavery, but more as we predate that. All right. So I hope I didn't go too far off. I hope that answered some of the questions that you had. Let me go back in here to nationality. I was just speaking on 5 points on nationality. Number one, nationality ties us to our forefathers. Okay, so that's why I was making that sardine reference. We were cut off from that. And if you're cut off from where you come from, your future, all of these things are in jeopardy. You're at someone else's mercy. And so nationality enables us to claim our birthrights. That's the second point. You have to know who you are. And what are birthrights? Right? Our birthright, we know that ultimately, spiritually, our birthright is amazing, because man is the Lord of the plane of manifest and of soul. What does that mean? That means that we literally create what we speak. That's why we're always showing these mystical spiritual things, because even though we may take these things lightly, we literally create our reality. We literally do. And the ancestors, some of the ancient Egyptians, they only had bits and pieces of the information from the people who predated them, and they were able to do amazing things. They were able to manipulate matter, manipulate their reality around them. And this is how they were able to do things like create pyramids, right? And so when it says that in the Holy Quran, that man's the Lord of the plane of manifest and of soul, that's powerful. But also from an earthly perspective, it's our rights and privileges and the possessions that you are entitled to just by birth, just by being who you are. And that's why in chapter 47, the prophet establishes our dominion. And we are who our forefathers were. So if our dominions extended from Northeast and Southwest Africa all the way to North, South, Central America and the Atlantis Islands, and that we've been here since before the Atlantic Ocean was created, that means that we predate everybody who's here now. That means that these are our dominions. We have rights to this. Okay, and as separate people, everybody out here doing their own thing, lawless, right? We can't do anything, but we have structure. We are capable of actually constituting a nation state. We have a common origin and language and tradition, right? So even if there's some of us who don't agree about it, those of us who know better do. We know who we are. We have a structure. And we are organized and we can pursue these things that we are due. Okay. And so that's birthrights, and nationality enables us to claim our birthrights. That's the second point. Third one is claiming our nationality puts us in compliance with the constitutional standard of law by name. Okay. So the Constitution doesn't apply to property, but it does apply to humans. When it's saying man, it's talking about man in general, which means woman, man, children, everything, all humans, right? So by reconnecting ourselves to our heritage and proclaiming it and moving as that, we're connected. That applies to us as well. All right. Then the fourth thing is nationality determines our political status in this government. So if we don't have a nationality, we're undesirables. We're subject to the abuses that anyone chooses to heap upon us. And this is why we still see these things occurring right now. If we're not moving as a collective and we don't proclaim our nationality and move as such, we're undesirables. And we still see that. We still see that right now. And there's other people in the world. There's a group of people in Yemen that are also treated this way as well. And they, when you read their story, they're in the same predicament. They're the only people in Yemen who don't have a line of descent, a national line of descent, whether they suffered through wars or different atrocities maybe in the past, whatever it was that got them to this state. Now, I don't know their history. They got them to the state that they're in now. They're basically getting taken advantage of, just like we are. And they even call them undesirables. Okay. And so it's extremely important. Then the fifth key point for nationality, or why we need a nationality, is claiming our nationality puts us in a position where we can base our lives on the divine creed of our forefathers and adhere to the 5 divine conduct controlling principles that will cause us to become law-abiding citizens. All right. And then the 5 divine principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. All of our thoughts, actions, and deeds should be ruled by those principles. All right, so that's important just to remember that nationality refers to people that are capable of actually constituting a nation state. As long as you have that, the nationality exists, right? And so remember, people in Palestine, there is no, I'm not in Palestine, the Palestinians, there is no Palestine. That doesn't mean that there won't be in the future. They can create one. Why? Because they have a nationality. Where do they live, though? They live in Israel. Why don't they live in Palestine? Aren't they Palestinians? Because they've been Um, they've been through different, I guess you could say, war. They've had several different things that have happened to them that have put them in a position that they're in. So they had to organize because they knew who they were. They had to organize, form their government to stand up for them, to move as a nation, just like everyone else. Okay, and so even though they're not in possession of the land that they're in, right, it doesn't mean that they won't be in the future, and doesn't mean that they can't stand up for themselves. All right, and also that they have rights. They have human rights. They they if they're in a position like we were in Hurricane Katrina, somebody can't just say, well, you're not allowed to send them aid. People were trying to send aid directly to the people in Louisiana, which was mostly us. And the president said no. It made no sense. Right? Why? And we couldn't speak for ourselves though. Okay? So you have to have a nationality. You have to. Okay? Because say it was Somalian people in Louisiana who were suffering during Hurricane Katrina. And even though they had American citizenship, they're Somalian. Well, their nation could have spoken up for them and said, oh, no, these are crimes against humanity. You can't deny aid to our people. And it would have been a whole big issue. And they probably wouldn't have needed aid from anywhere else because the United States would have gave it to them. So, yes, we have to have that. And there's no way around it. And the concessions, the things that they give us, the civil rights and stuff like that, it's not good enough. And it wouldn't be necessary. Why would we need civil rights if the Constitution already guarantees all that? Okay. And why doesn't it apply to us? And so the prophet covered why it didn't apply to us, and he gave us the tools to get back in. All right. So maybe we can speak more on that later. I'm going to go ahead and go into our keys. Before we do, though, are there any other questions? All right. Okay, so let's go into the questionnaire. Questions 21 through 30. Brother Lawson, would you please read that for us?
Islam, Sheikh. First, I rise, give the highest praise to the Most High, Father God Allah. Honors to divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, who brought us the divine creed and nationality to all Moors. Also, I give rise to the forerunner, Marcus Musar Garvey. Rise to all sheiks, adepts, and the faithful Moors on the call today and around the world. Islam. Keys, number 2021. How old is our flag? It is over 10,000 years old. 22. Which is our holy day? Friday, the sixth day, when man was born from out of the flesh. 23. Why? Because Friday is the day in which man was formed in the flesh, and it was on Friday when he departed out of the flesh. 24. Who was Jesus? He was a prophet of Allah. Honor to all prophets. 25. Where was he born? In Bethlehem of Judah, in the house of David. 26. Who were his father and mother? Joseph and Mary. 27. Will you give in a brief line genealogy through which Jesus came? Some of the great fathers through which Jesus came are Abraham, Boaz by Ruth, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Hezekiah, and Joseph by Mary. 28. Why did Allah send Jesus to this earth? To save the Israelites from the iron hand of oppression of the pale skinned nation of Europe, who were governing a portion of Palestine at that time. 29. How long has that been? About 2,000 years ago. 30. What was the nationality of Ruth? Ruth was a Moabite. Islam, Islam, Islamism.
All right, Islamism and gratitude. Let's go back in and just go over some of these questions again. So the first one is, how old is our flag? It is over 10,000 years old. Just looking at that question, right? Okay. Let me hang on one second. All right. So yeah, we want to not look at this like with a dogmatic approach, right? Because even though we're Muslims and Islam is our religion, or more specifically Islamism, we're more scientists, right? Um, we're members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, so we don't want to have just a dogmatic approach to everything. Um, the literal meaning of dogma in ancient Greek was something that seems true, right? You see that? Just something that seems true. Um, from a dogmatic perspective, you're just accepting things as fact, very strongly, or excuse me, characterized or given to the expression of opinions very strongly or positively as if they were facts, right? So even looking at opinions like that, so we don't want to take that approach. So we know that the prophet, everything that he did for a reason. I'm saying that the flag was um, over 10,000 years old. 10,000, okay, in the Mammoth Dictionary of Symbols, it's saying that 10,000 is something that the ancients used to symbolize infinity. All right. So from that perspective, if that's how it's applied in this case, from that perspective, with 10,000 being used by the ancients to represent infinity, the prophet could be letting it be known that the principles of our flag are infinite. They're universal, right? How old is our flag? The question right before that, question 20, is about the 5 points on the flag, right? Which you could say that represents arm, leg, arm, head. You'll hear that people say that about that being a lie, but we don't officially teach that, but that makes sense. But it's love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, right? Those 5 principles, universal principles. They're infinite. Okay. So looking at it from that perspective, just that these are these principles are universal. They're never ending, right? It's infinite. This is something that will return into the old time religion of our ancestors. And these are ancient principles that everything's based off of. Okay. Also looking at it from that perspective on the holy day, which is our holy day, Friday. Okay. So on one hand, you can say the prophet is returning us to customs and traditions that are being shared by by 1 billion people, or more than 1 billion people now in the world, because you have all these Muslims all over the world, and um, they all hold to Friday as the Sabbath day. The Jews do as well, right? And then Friday is ruled by the planet Venus, the planet of love. That's love deified. And Friday used to be the 7th day of the week. So the Jews hold it on their lunar calendar, and the Muslims still do. So the prophet is returning us to these traditions, getting us in alignment with all of these people, potential allies in the world. But also, we look at that from a spiritual perspective. And some people may not have seen this before, just this chart, and that's the Kabbalah tree of life. And just speak on this swiftly, right? So when you're looking at the Kabbalah tree of life, you have 10 spears, 10 circles on there. Okay. Each of those spears, each of those circles are representing different planes of existence. Okay. They're all representing different planes of existence. There's 10 different realms, if you want to say it like that. All right. And so this is basically, this is also from the Kabbalah perspective, which is the Jewish mysticism, is called the tree of life. But also in ancient Egypt, they had this as well. And the Olmecs over here probably had it as well, right? So all the ancient cultures, they had this. They knew about the 10 different realms. Okay. So when you're looking at this one going down from the top, if you see on the right hand side for the people on the phone, there's 10 different spears. And at the top, going down from the top, numbering down from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is kind of in the middle. All right. And what you have at the top, where it says 1, you have the spirit realm. Right, 1, 2, and 3. That's the spirit and the soul realm. So you have these higher vibrational realms, and then the farther down you go, you're getting into lower vibratory realms of existence. And then when you get all the way down to 10, you're in Malkuth. That's the root. That's the physical plane of manifest. That's Earth, or whatever planet you're on. That's the physical world. Okay. And so when you're going down from 1 all the way to 10, when you get to 6, that's this the 6th spear. That's where man is. And it, on the Kabbalah tree of life, is called Tefereth. Tefereth is where man exists. That's where we are right now. We are in the 6th day. What does it say? Somebody read that again. What does it say? Question 22, key 22. We're in the 6th day. All right, from this perspective. So 22, 22, can you read 22 and 23 for us, Brother Seymour Bay?
Islam. 22, which is our holy day, Friday. 23, why? Because Friday is the day in which man was formed in flesh, and it was on Friday when he departed out of the flesh.
Okay, so looking at the tree of life, the 6th spear, the 6th realm, Tefereth, is where man is right now. That's the 6th day. Okay, that's when man was created and when man will depart out of the flesh. Man is also truth and falsehood strangely mixed. What does that mean? Falsehood is that which will pass away, which is temporary. What is temporary? The physical realm. Truth is truth is spirit. Spirit man is one with Allah. So that's why man is truth and falsehood is strangely mixed. You're in this world, but not of this world. And you have a higher aspect of you right here, right now, that you can access, even though you're in this world. And that's why man is this strange creature here, right? Not down in any of the other creatures on the earth, but we're different. We have a different position on earth. That's why we're the Lord of all of this. Okay? You have the higher aspect of you as well as the physical aspect, and you're conscious of it. You can tap into it right now in your everyday life. And so man is in this world, but not of it. And that's that 6th day right there. That's it. And so that's what we're talking about here. And so now I don't want to just go through the questions and just read it and just memorize this, but don't know anything about what's really going on. Or maybe some of this stuff just sounds weird. So that's some of the science behind it. And when the prophet is teaching this to the people in 1928, and some of the people can't read, and people coming from all different walks of life. You had several people coming to Chicago from the down south, and he can't go in this deep because he's going to lose everybody. So he's giving you the keys, and as you grow, you will grow in your understanding of it. All right, so there's deep wisdom in there, and that's also why we hold to that. It's not just something just to do blindly. So yes, we meet on the holy day and we take out a little bit of time, just a little bit of time, right? We try to keep the meeting short just to study the Holy Quran. We put that time aside. Why? Because we know that we are not only the flesh, and it's important to do that on a regular basis. And so, yeah, the 10 spears, the sixth spear, counted down from the top. That's where man is right now in the sixth day. Okay. And you would cast in the noble Quran in Surah 2, ayat 30 through 34 says it's cast forth, speaking of man, cast forth into the soil of soul, and it grew rapidly, gaining self-awareness and lordship in the sixth period. Okay, that's in the Quran. And this is when I'm speaking of the Quran, I'm talking about is revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. Surah 2, ayat 30 through 40. Okay, this is where Allah is having a conversation with the angels. He's explaining how he made us his vice regent on earth. Okay, and it's saying that man is cast forth into the soul of soil, and it grew rapidly, gaining self-awareness and lordship in the sixth period. Okay, so we're in the sixth period, gaining lordship. All right. And then eventually we're to climb back up the, well, if you want to call it a ladder or a tree of life or whatever, we're to go back up through those planes. Okay. And so remember, one of us from North Carolina returned this ancient wisdom to us. All right. So just by studying more science, we're getting back to what our ancestors have been practicing for time immemorial. Just we're getting back to the root. And yeah, from a Christian perspective, Saturday is the Sabbath day. From a Jewish or from a Muslim perspective, it would be on Friday. That's why I started out in Orthodox Islam, and I used to go to the mosque on Friday with all the other men for the call to prayer. We all go in there, go wash our feet, hands, wash behind our ears, and we go in there and pray. But like, yeah, for Muslims, Friday is the Sabbath. So the Prophet got us in tune with that. But also from a spiritual perspective, there's more to it than that. Islam. I see Brother Jackson Bay. Islam.
Islam, Sheikh, just to add to what you was building on, um, to for unity, to show the unity that when you're Hebrew, or like what I'm learning from talking with Hebrew Israelites, is that the Sabbath starts Friday when the sun goes down, and the fact that the holy day for Muslims all over the world is Friday, um, probably has some type of layered, showing oneness between the two cultures, and because all is it's only but one truth, and truth is but one, and our doubts is our own reason. So just showing the unity between the two religions, so or the two perspectives. So Islam.
Islam. Islam. Gratitude, and thank you for sharing that measure, and just kind of in alignment with what you're saying. A lot of the lessons, the measures that we're going over here in the Moore Science Temple of America is for us. Like when we're out with our brothers and sisters, we're not trying to beat people over the head about, oh, why you just doing this custom? You don't even know why. We're not doing any of that. It's like, okay, well, you know what? We can pray with you. We have something that we can connect about, that we can be friends about, or that we can do business about, because we're not out here trying to antagonize people, or to do anything like that. So yeah, we're in alignment with the rest of the Muslims, right, who are going to pray on the Sabbath on Friday, and as you said, with the Jews as well. And then also, like, if I'm talking to other Muslims, whatever. I'm not gonna make a difference between it. Oh, we're Muslims, we're not Muslims. Not doing that. I'm not here to fight with everybody, right? Especially if this is something that we can bond over. These are, bonds that can make us friends and allies. Not doing that, right? As long as they don't disrespect the prophet. But other than that, these are things that we can bond with other people as well. All right. And uh 24, who was Jesus? He was a prophet of Allah. Uh the prophet also says, what is a prophet? A prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in the flesh. And then also we have keys that ask what we did establish that we're all thoughts of Allah manifested in the flesh. And when you look at the line of thinking and what the prophet's doing, he wants to make sure that it's understood that even though a prophet or a messenger has a task to do specifically for Allah, that doesn't mean that they're to be held up and worshipped, that we're any different than them, right? This is also what Jesus did in his time. If you really look through the Bible, you see that Jesus let the people know, said that you'll do the things that I've done and even greater. He said that ye are all gods. And this is throughout the Bible several times, and it's not out of context. He's talking about the people, and then what they do. He died, and they named the religion after him. When he was letting it be known, he's not any different than the rest. He wasn't saying he's the son of God and you aren't, right? He was letting it be known that you're all sons and daughters of God. And they went in and named the religion Christianity. And I saw somebody, it was this other guy, he's got a book where he calls us the Aliites. And that's not what we are, right? The prophet let it be known that we are just like him. What was his nationality, right? He was Moorish American. What are we? Moorish Americans. He's the thought of Allah manifested in the flesh, and so are we. Okay? So we know not to do that, to get caught up like that, to hold somebody up, because if you're doing that, then you're not gaining the true insight and perspective, which is letting us know that Allah is in us, right? And the things that he did, we can do and even greater. Okay? And just in here where it's establishing where he was born and that he had a mother and father and a genealogy, that he was sent to earth with a specific task. He was just like us. Okay? And we're not to hold anyone up in that in that position, because ultimately in the beginning of the Quran it establishes that we are the same thing that the prophets were, and that we have the same abilities and power and the same connection to Allah. And that gets us also out of the dogmatic way of thinking, so that we understand our true place in this. We're not looking for anyone to come and save us, because we know that we ultimately have the power to save ourselves. And that's really a key thing too that we all need to take from this. All right, it's on us. We're not waiting on somebody else to come and save us. It's on us, and we have the capability to do it. Islam. That's really all that I wanted to share on those keys. But if anyone else has any insight or any questions or anything, feel free to speak up. Even if it's not about the keys, I yield the floor. Islam. Okay. All right. Well, if there's no questions or comments, before we close out, I do want to say next at the next business meeting Thursday, we're gonna start letting people, I guess, schedule out when they want to do classes as far as Holy Day. Yeah, training, doing Holy Day and Sunday school. eventually we'll have missions in Dayton, Akron, Cincinnati, Canton, right? All over, even Maryland, right? So it's going to keep growing. So we'll we'll go over that Thursday and let everybody pick the days that they want to do it. Um, that's that's all that I needed to say though. If unless anybody else has anything, we're going to go ahead and go into the closing of the meeting. Um, Brother Seymour Bay, would you please read the divine warning?
Islam, Sheikh. First, I rise and give praise to the Most High, Father God Allah. I give honors to His holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, and to the forerunner to the prophet, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Give honors to the Supreme Grand Sheikh, Keith Daniel Jail, and to all the members of the Grand Body, the Moorish Science Temple of America, to all the conscious Moors around the world, and all you faithfuls on the call. Peace. A divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to that state of mind, to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law-abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish Divine National Movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government and not under a granted privilege as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know law in the city hall and among the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they're glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is the free national standards and power that make a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone, and without your national citizenship by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I'm hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I'm depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mine back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. Every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy father and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizen of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and the South in unit, placing the Southerners who were at that time without power with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law was enforced since 1774, declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come, because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do herein believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the helps of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from the sinful ways of action, and the deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they have fought the Southerner for all these great misuses, but I have traveled in the South and I have examined the conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I'm hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the Prophet, Islam, Islam, Islamism. Peace.
Islamism, gratitude, brother. And I want to correct something too. Earlier, I had said in this place, Yorktown, I think it was in New York, that our people were running things, and this was before the 14th Amendment, but it wasn't. This is a newspaper article. It's from 1871, so it was a few years after the 14th Amendment, right? But it wasn't that long after. But if you look at that, they were calling the people Negroes and blackamoors, and they had control of the land. It said the black population sees the white one 4-1, and many of the offices are held by the Negroes. In one township, the magistrates, all the judges are all blackamoors. The postmaster is a black man. They call them blackamoors, Negroes, and black, all in the same article. He had a deputy who's white. Okay. In trials by jury, if a Negro is concerned, a jury of his own race is compelled to try him. And if so, look, even though this was just a few years after that, I mean, that still wouldn't make sense for this much progress to have taken place just a few years after slavery, after the 14th Amendment, to bring us into citizenship. It still would make sense for us to have made so much progress there. And I want to share this too. There's another newspaper article. This is from 1857, the Richmond County Observer. And this is talking about the Dred Scott decision, saying the highest judicial tribunal in the land has decided that the blackamoors, called by the extreme of public courtesy, the colored population, are not citizens of the United States. Okay. So by being Negroes, colored, black, we had no rights. We didn't fall up under the Constitution. So when they tell that about the 14th Amendment, it's true, but there's truth and falsehood strangely mixed, because at the same time, when you see when the Confederates, when they seceded from the Union, you see they were starting their own nation. They had their own national flag. And this was really for them, bringing them into the Union. And that's what the prophet was talking about in the divine warning that Brother Seymour Bay just read. He, the 14th and 15th Amendment was about bringing them back into the Union. They went and started the Confederate States of America. They had their own army. They went to war with the United States of America. Okay. And so that's really what that was about, right? Each state had their own Confederate flags, and then they had they had unified as the Confederate States of America, and that's who it was truly about. And then of course Negroes had no part in any of this. We were just being manipulated and used, but we didn't fall up under the Constitution, period. So yeah, the 14th and 15th brought us in as well, because we didn't know who we were. All right. So but we don't need all of that. Okay. We do need it if we're going to continue to be their property. If we're not going to stand up and be who we are, and determine who we are, instead of going along with what they place on us, then yeah, we need whatever they can give us, whatever crumbs they'll throw at us. If they want to kill some of us sometimes and get away with it, they're going to keep doing it, right? Until we stand up. Islam. So I did want to share that, though. That was my mistake. But go ahead and read the additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Act 1, grant sheiks and governors and heads of all temples all business. Each said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali before acting upon by any members, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the members to sacrifice finances, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under a heavy restriction, etc., by the Prophet or the Grand Sheikh. Act 2, all members are to attend their ADEP meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second, he will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If member is working, his monthly dues must be paid, and if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish Uplifting Fund, because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3, it is the lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able in finance, to aid me in saving the nation, and if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I will have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4, all members, while up making a public speech, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5, all members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must conform himself to the questionnaire, and let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out from your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching their people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali the prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7, all members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah, Islam, Islamism. And shout out to future Muslim mission in Dayton as well, Islam. We're going to get everybody practice holding the meetings and sharing and teaching on the Quran and questionnaire. And let's go ahead and close out. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Please rise for the closing prayer, facing the east. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers, divine creed and principles. We ask this in our holy name and the seven Elohim. Amen. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Peace and love, Morris.
Peace.
Peace and love.
Peace and
Peace
love.
and love, Morris.
Peace and love, family.
Peace and love.
Peace, Morris.
Peace and love.